You do not need to go anywhere. If you are here, it means that movement has already slowed. Not because you forced it to, but because something deeper no longer feels the need to rush. This is not a place for understanding. Understanding belongs to earlier stages. Here, understanding would only get in the way. This is a space for remembering, not memory as information, but recognition as a state. There comes a point in every real journey where searching quietly dissolves. Not because everything has been found, but because the impulse to seek has exhausted its usefulness. Up to this point, clarity needed effort, attention, correction, returning again and again. But effort was never the destination. Effort was only a bridge. Now something different becomes possible. Here, clarity is no longer something you apply. It is something you stop interrupting. You may notice that nothing new is happening, and that is precisely the point. Nothing new is required. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be achieved. This space exists to let what is already aligned settle fully into how you live. Most people never arrive here, not because it is difficult, but because it feels unfamiliar. We are trained to associate value with movement, progress with accumulation, and meaning with intensity. But depth does not behave that way. Depth becomes quieter the closer you get to it. In this space, there is no performance, no improvement, no future version of yourself to reach. There is only presence, without demand. You may feel the urge to analyze this moment, to label it, to understand what is happening. Let that urge pass. Understanding belongs to motion. This space is about stillness. Stillness does not mean stopping life. It means life no longer pulls you away from yourself. Decisions become simpler here, not because they are calculated better, but because inner resistance has softened. You no longer argue with yourself. You no longer negotiate alignment. You no longer reopen questions that have already resolved themselves. This does not make life smaller. It makes it clearer. You may notice that silence feels different here. Not empty, not heavy. It feels inhabited. This is the silence that appears when nothing is being avoided. Nothing is chasing you. Nothing is missing. Nothing is waiting for you to become something else. Time behaves differently here. Not because it slows down, but because it stops being the reference point. You are not preparing for the next step. You are standing inside what already is. This is not an ending. Endings imply completion. This is something more subtle. It is continuity without tension. From here, you will still move. You will still choose. You will still engage with the world. But movement will arise from coherence, not urgency. Choice will come from alignment, not pressure. When noise appears again, and it will, you will not need to fight it. You will recognize it faster. Stay with it less. Return more easily. Not because you learned how, but because you remember how it feels when nothing needs to be added. This space is not fragile. It does not need protection. It does not disappear when attention shifts. It remains available quietly in the background of everything you do. You do not need to return here often, and you do not need to stay long. Sometimes it will be enough to remember that this space exists at all. That clarity does not require effort forever. That direction can hold itself. That life does not need to be accelerated to be meaningful. If you ever feel the pull to optimize again, to search, to redefine yourself, to outrun silence, you can return here. Not to restart, not to recalibrate, but to rest inside what is already aligned. Stay as long as you wish. Nothing else is required.